Now, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. We are meeting for the co-investing project. Co-investing project is an European project with multiple European partners who is trying to analyze the needs of venture capital funds in strong ecosystems and in moderate and emerging ecosystems in Europe, and to understand their needs, to facilitate the co-investment, easier co-investment, to facilitate their access to emerging and moderate ecosystems, and to understand also the needs of deep tech startups so that we can boost a little bit the deep tech innovation in this part of Europe. So I have a few questions for you today. Thank you very, very much for accepting our invitation. As a managing partner from BrightCap in Bulgaria, could you tell us how would you appreciate the technology startup ecosystem? It's dynamic in the last few years in Bulgaria.
Yeah, thanks for having me, first of all. I think what I've seen, because I've been looking at the tech ecosystem in Bulgaria for the last 15 years. I was living abroad and I came back 15 years ago. It's changed dramatically from the time I arrived. When I came back, it was mostly like BPOs and outsourcing shops that were working for international global companies and just coding in Bulgaria. Then it moved to the copy-paste kind of approach where they would see a product and then copy and paste it in Bulgaria.
Maybe mainly for the local market, probably.
For the local market,
yes.
In a cheaper way, and there were some exits from those companies, but small exits, competitors would buy them to get market share. Then we saw the development of product companies. So, new solutions coming to market that were not services, that were real products that, had some customers. And eventually now what we see now, and this is like a very optimistic view of the market, is actually their category defining products emerging. So, innovations in certain areas that come out of Bulgaria that are not copy-paste. They're not like a standard product, but something totally new and innovative that can compete on the global market. And we've had a few unicorns already, so
yes.
People are hearing about Bulgaria. Products that are starting out of Bulgaria but selling outside. Typically, the R&D teams are in Bulgaria, but the sales and marketing obviously somewhere else. So yeah, it's evolved for sure.
Would you have in mind one or two reasons why venture capital funds in stronger innovative ecosystem should come in Bulgaria to invest in local startups here?
Yeah, I think this is actually true not only for Bulgaria, but for other markets around us in the region. I think one of the things that I always tell when we pitch our fund and our companies to outside investors is that founders in our part of the world are very efficient. There was a study done by McKinsey a few years ago, I think that compared how much equity like certain startups raise and how much revenue they generate with that capital. And if you compare like a typical B2B startup in the US, for every dollar they raise, they generate 50% of that in revenues, while in our part of the world, Southeast Europe, it's 5.5 times more. So with the little money, they can achieve a lot more. So this is the first, benefit of actually starting a company in Bulgaria. The other thing is, because we're a small market, founders are naturally motivated to go outside, so that they don't want to stay in Bulgaria or Romania, or
maybe they have the vision to go outside, to go international from the get-go.
They need to, because they can become they're not a venture scalable business if they stay in those local markets, which is not the same if you're in a larger like Western European or American market, because you have obviously a bigger audience there. So this is like a benefit also. And the last thing that I see is actually a lot more people going into tech. So there are students that are interested in entrepreneurship from early on. There are now serial founders that have started a company, sold a company, then started a new one.
There's a new generation of entrepreneurs in technology.
Yeah,
yes.
It's not, back when I came back 15 years ago, being an entrepreneur was like almost equivalent to being unemployed and saying something so that people don't ask you what you actually do. Like, yeah, I'm doing a startup. Now it's actually very trendy, and a lot of people are leaving jobs also to start a company. So it's a trend that has emerged recently.
So, how do you appreciate when you're trying to fundraise or to co-invest with venture capital funds in stronger ecosystem in West or in UK? Do you appreciate that it? Do you find them easy? I mean,
other co-investors.
Yes, from other types of ecosystem than our own in the region. It is natural to contact the most close ones. I know that in Romania, venture capital funds are very well connected with the ones in Bulgaria. The at top of mind is that to call your friends. But do you have easy access to more far away venture capital funds in stronger ecosystems?
Yeah, when we started, we didn't. We started our first fund in 2018, but we have in our first fund we have 23 companies in our portfolio, and only 5 are headquartered in Bulgaria. So the rest are outside. About eight exactly are in the US. We have 4 in the UK, France, Spain, Czech Republic. So the way we approach this is we like when a company is not located in Bulgaria, we like to co-invest with a local investor because we're the partner, the local partner there. They're the local partner. In the other country,
markets that are
so we always like to co-invest, and at the beginning, of course, we didn't have the network, but we've built over time a database of over 650 VCs that we've either talked to, co-invested with, or know. And when we see a company in their market, we approach them and we say, this is an interesting company. Would you like to learn more about it? We share a pipeline with those VCs that we're friendly with, but it takes time to build those relationships. And at the beginning, it's step by step. You go in the market, just like in Romania, we didn't know many people here 6 years ago, but now we know everybody. And so you go to conferences and you meet people and you network, and then you share a pipeline. That's how you build relationships.
Yes, in terms of diversity, how would you appreciate, the venture capital funds position, especially for women-led startups? Have you noticed some changes or improvements? Maybe I'm trying to suggest.
We're actually founding members of the EU Women in VC network that was started about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And the first thing that we did is we did a study across Europe to see how many female GPs there are and how many female founders there are. And what came out as a conclusion is that they're not enough, obviously. But when you put some numbers, and this is a known fact, but when you put some numbers, it's mind-blowing. Only 10% of GPs are female. And only 2% of all funding goes to female-founded startups. Another 25 or so % go to mixed-gender startups. But altogether, that's like 30% or less of capital that goes to startups that have either a female founder or all female.
Yes.
And so when you see those numbers, you say something is wrong, and we need to address this problem. So. Of course, I'm not a proponent of you should invest in female founders only because they're female, or in female GPs only because they're female. But knowing this, it makes you aware that there's an imbalance, and that kind of puts your mind to certain things that you can do. Not like quotas, I'm against that, but certain things. If you see a female startup and the female typically is not very aggressive and is not very kind of talks about top line. They mostly talk about how they're going to diminish or decrease the downside. And so you should have that in mind, that female founders think in a different way. At the same time, they're not as aggressive, but at the same time, they're more cautious, and you're probably not going to lose your money there because of that. So you just have to be aware that women and men have a different frame of thinking, and if you're a man, you should not disregard a woman just because they think different, or vice versa. So that's why it's good to have diversity at the GP level as well. It starts from the LPs, if there is diversity there, because typically same invest in same, if you're a male, you would invest in. So if you have diversity, then the LPs can invest in more diverse GPs, and the GPs can invest in more diverse founding teams. So this is what this EU Women in VCs is trying to do.
Yes. Thank you for your opinion. And the last two questions are referring to your relationship as a venture capital fund with some other organization in the country that might help you with the pipeline. For example, we are trying to understand if in the emerging ecosystems there are any public or governmental supported agencies like innovation agencies that could be of help for venture capital funds in this region. An innovation agency role is to support the ecosystem with programs, even with funding, with understanding the regulations, trying to adapt or to trying to support the improvement of regulations and so on. So do you think, do you have connections in Bulgaria with such types of organizations?
There is an innovation agency in Bulgaria, but and they do sponsor some events and even some newly found accelerators, I think. So through those accelerators and incubators, we can get some pipeline. But to be honest, Bulgaria is so small that we kind of know everybody, and founders, they're looking for funding, they know who to go to.
So directly?
They come directly. They don't go through an agency or another kind of organization, because they can get to us very quickly. And we're very, they can connect with us on LinkedIn. They typically find someone that knows us that can recommend us, because that's a better way to connect than just a cold email.
Faster way, probably.
Faster, and especially if it comes with a reference, it's for us, it's easier to filter through those that come inbound versus those that are recommended by someone. But yeah, there is the agency, but we don't really get pipeline from there, to be honest. And even in foreign markets, we typically connect with accelerators or fellow VCs that initially share pipeline. And then once we build a name in a certain market, then we go directly. We go to conferences like these and meet founders.
So you suggest that there are some other types of sources that help you with the pipeline, and not necessarily you have direct connections with some innovation agencies locally.
Yeah, they help indirectly by sponsoring these events, but it's very rare that a startup would go to the innovation agency to ask for connections with the VCs.
Yes, in this project, CO-INVESTIN, we're trying to gather some relevant information about these emerging ecosystems, about the economy, the status of the economy, the financing, the tax, the regulations, the role of innovation agencies in these countries. So to put them under a contact point of information for venture capital funds. The aim of this platform could be to facilitate the access of these ecosystems for stronger for venture capital funds in stronger ecosystems in the West. Would you access such a platform if you would have ideally a place where you would have a lot of information about, I don't know, Romania maybe, or Hungary, or some other countries around, to help you easier to decide to co-invest there? Would be of help?
I think for sure, like just learning about the economic situation in a country and just like kind of statistics will be helpful for sure. More information is always better. I think just to get that knowledge, it will be very helpful. But to contact founders, probably not so much, because founders, are best contacted through somebody that knows them. And this is the way we approach.
Yes, the role of such a platform would be to offer at hand multiple bunch of information about some other countries in the region, so that would help you to co-invest or to decide to go there to co-invest, to analyze the efficiency, the return on investment in those countries.
Yeah, this is valuable information. For example, in Bulgaria, I'm just thinking, we have a flat tax rate of 10% that very few people know about. And this is something, you should be aware. And it's like a huge driver of innovation, because startups that have to pay only 10% in Bulgaria versus, 30 or 40% in other parts of the world, they have a lot more capital to play with. And if you live there also, independent of whether you're an individual or a corporate, you pay 10% flat. And when people hear, they're like, that's amazing, I didn't know. So if there's a source where they can check
gathering this data.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you for your time. We wish you a great day.
Thank you to you too.
And we hope to come back with valuable information for you.
I'll check it out when you do.
Thank you.